Hey, welcome back to my perspective. You have literally no idea how long I've been wanting to record this episode. If you're new here, my name is Shelby. I have had this podcast since my junior year of college. I just took a 6-month break, or about 6 months. I'm not really sure. I've never done that. I moved in July. My last episode was an interview. It was in this apartment. Almost canceled it. I'm so glad I didn't because it was one of my most listened on YouTube, at least. It just did really well. So we're going to record until my roommate gets home. I think the reason why I haven't posted in so long was because I got a roommate. I could make it work and figure it out. This past 6 months has been insane. Before I just complain to you about why I had just given up on my podcast, because mentally I never have. I just was guilting myself. This episode is going to just be a catch up, getting back into the swing of things much as I can, because I'm so disappointed in myself. When I think of myself as a podcaster. Through and through. I haven't podcasted in months. So how can I call myself podcaster? How could I say I want this to be my job if I don't do it? On the bright side of things, I did start my YouTube channel, which was one of my goals for this year. So I actually, if I could find it, wanted to look up my goals of 2024 since it's now December. I have to look at my goals every single year to feel accomplished, because in the moment I just don't. If we're gonna go finance route, just really quickly, because I always give myself a finance goal. My top spending of 2024 so far, I haven't finished my November and December finances, was travel, miso, and shopping. Something I always say with finances to people is that I don't budget. What I think is more important is what you're spending, your top 3 things that you think are worth your money. It has to align with what you're actually spending your money on. Travel, number 1, makes total sense. I visit my boyfriend because we're long distance majority of the year, every 2 months, and we took a big trip together. I traveled quite a bit this year, so that makes sense. Number 2 is my dog. Also makes a lot of sense. He's obviously on my list of what I want to spend money on. Number 3 is shopping, which is not something I actually value, and it's not necessarily clothes most of the time, even though I've kind of had a thrifting and brandy obsession this year. If we're going to go to my 4th one, which is wellness, which I want to be my 3rd one, so that means I just have to spend less money on clothes or Amazon. I spend so much money on Amazon. That's not really my goals of 2024, but I guess we'll just go through what I did as I read it. So my first one was going on a trip with Max, and we went to Italy in October. That was the best trip ever. It was our first time doing a huge trip together. We've only done trips on weekends or just, I think, less than 3 days, and usually me visiting him. We did one trip to Chicago with his family. So this was the first time, and it was an international flight. I had spent I spent a lot of months planning this trip. He travels so much for baseball that usually he's not really fond of the idea of traveling. I did tell him that this is not baseball related. It's not family related. This is completely different. So I wanted him to keep an open mind. I posted on TikTok. You can go find it. Our breakdown for how I budgeted the trip for us. We actually spent a lot less money than I anticipated. How I budget, how I find the Airbnb, all that. So if you're interested in that, you can go to TikTok. He ended up loving it. So we potentially will do a trip next year. We're planning on moving in together next year, so I definitely want to plan to buy furniture and stuff, because moving this year with a roommate, I had everything you could possibly need to live alone and in a studio. So when I moved to an apartment that was bigger with a roommate who wanted to obviously make the apartment homey, totally understand that. Love that. I didn't budget for that because I just honestly wasn't on my mind moving and budgeting and all that. So going into next year, I want to budget because Max and I will need to buy a mattress and a bed frame, possibly a dining table, just random things. Home stuff is so expensive. New sheets, new towels, all that. Maybe we won't go on a trip and we'll just furnish our house. Maybe we'll do both. I prefer to do both. Moving in together is expensive. So he ended up love traveling. We traveled so well together. I kind of already knew that because we don't live together, but we spend the night with each other all the time and hang out all the time. I didn't really think traveling would be any different, especially with our little trips. So trip was amazing. I have the full vlog on YouTube. If you want to see our trip, go on there. I'm so proud of myself for doing YouTube. Okay, sorry. Next was to go to Europe or somewhere tropical, which Max and I, that was just a double whammy. We're thinking next year, if we do go on a trip, it would be something tropical, just because we did Florence and we did the Amalfi, and it was great because both we needed the city and the beach, because if we'd done Amalfi, it would have been just too long of a trip with not much to do. And then same with Florence, there's no relaxing, there's nowhere to just hang out. And then my next one, which some people might think is really stupid and embarrassing, but I wanted to make 1 to 2 super solid good friends in Orange County. So I moved to Orange County in June of 2023. And then I moved a mile down to also in Orange County of July of 2024. So it's been a year and a half since I left college, and I just had a moment. All my super, super close friends don't live near me. I was feeling pretty lonely. I am an introvert, but I was feeling lonely that all my friends are really far away and I didn't have any girlfriends super close to me, like distance wise. So I made basically a to-do list of all my friends, people I've met in Orange County that I intentionally wanted to hang out with more. I ended up stopping the list because I had narrowed it down. I had it like 10 plus people on it that I wanted to hang out. And then I kind of stressed me out because I was like, okay, well, if I only have the bandwidth to hang out with 1 to 2 friends a week, it's going to take me months to get through this list. So I have officially feel like I have my 2 solid girlfriends here in Orange County. I try to see them as much as possible. Like I've said before, making friends when you're older is so much harder because you're working full time. You have a ton of other friends. You have a partner. You have hobbies. You have to be intentional with who you want to hang out with and who you want to get on that friend level, because it takes hours and hours for someone to be a close friend, not just like an acquaintance. Making a new friend in college and in high school is so much easier because you're constantly together. You have just a lot more hours. I'm only hanging out with my friends for maybe 2 hours. So it's just different. Next was to be more present with Max, which honestly, I don't know how to quantitative, whatever. I don't know how to determine if I've been more intentional with him or not this year, but I can ask him. I wanted to finish my health coaching, which I did. I finished in September. I do really want to build my website, so that's probably going to be on my to-do list for next year. I also wanted to have 1 client, which I did not get. I did do my free sessions. I'm pretty sure I have 1 or 2 more free sessions left. If anyone is listening or watching to this, I'll give you my little spiel, my short spiel. I haven't really worked on it that much, but I went to IIN, which is the Integrative Institute for Nutrition Health Coaching. Personally, what I specialize in and want to help women with is women under the age of like 40, women who still have a menstrual cycle. That's very specific, but I want to help women with their hormones, with unexplained symptoms, so fatigue, brain fog, joint pain, stomach problems. I also can help you with non-toxic living, so like easy swaps in your kitchen, in your personal care. If you or you know anyone who wants to live more of a non-toxic lifestyle, or you want to balance your hormones with cycle syncing, you're coming off birth control, DM me, email me, because I potentially have 1 to 2 sessions left for free, or you can just become a paying customer. I have finally figured out what is wrong with me after all these years. I just want to also help women feel better or feel their best. It's so hard to figure out what's wrong with you. I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and gone to multiple doctors. It's not just health anxiety. Like, I had something wrong with me and now I'm in the position where I can fix it. Sorry, that was long-winded. Okay, I wanted to try a new hobby, something creative, which I don't really think I did. Like, I wanted to do like pottery or art. I guess dance would even count. So that's probably just going to go on my list for next year. I did ask for a watercoloring set and a coloring book and like these special markers I see all over TikTok for Christmas. And that's like the highest on my list. I really want that. It's funny because sometimes what I want for Christmas is not super expensive, or just like not like something I really want but won't necessarily buy for myself, is so different than like wanting makeup or clothes. The next one, which makes me sad, is post a weekly episode. I was doing so good with this in the beginning of the year. I was really on top of it. Even when I started my YouTube channel, I was like, okay, I want to do an additional video on YouTube, like not count it as instead of a podcast. It just got carried away and life just got to me. I did not do that. I did start interviews, which was on my 2024 bingo card. And I'm really proud of myself for that because I bought a camera, which if you're watching, you're on. And obviously that's how I started the YouTube. I got a lot of new listeners and followers from that. So I'm grateful I did that investment because it was hefty. It was a big purchase for me. I don't usually drop that much money in one sitting. The interview a month. So I pretty much did an interview a month until I stopped posting. At least I somewhat got it. I still have like a list of people I want to interview, so that's definitely still gonna happen in the new year. The next one is heal from mold. I think I healed from mold. Guys, I need to give you a health update because I kind of figured it out today. Really, really happy. And then my last one is like feel better in general. Let me explain. If you're new and you're still listening to this, that's crazy because I'm just giving you updates about my life. For the past 2.5 years, honestly, maybe even 3 years at this point, I have struggled extremely with joint pain in my hands and my wrist, just like muscle pains throughout my whole body. And then even longer than that, like 5 years at this point, I've had fatigue, like so bad where I just crash out at any moment. Just like I could fall asleep at a workout class. I could fall asleep at work. I'm trying obviously not to because I'm paying for it or getting paid to be there. I went to countless of doctors. I have been gaslit. Okay, the craziest thing that I've ever been told by a doctor was she told me that I had joint pain because she assumed I had no friends. Well, maybe you just don't have any friends. And I literally started crying. So I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? Is this a joke? Are you being for real? And she's like, well, maybe you should try therapy. And obviously I go to my therapist crying and she's like, yeah, I know that this is not psychological for you. Like the pain you're describing is not the pain people have that their brain is creating. And you do have friends. My mom was like, you need to write a complaint about that doctor. I just never got around to it on my to-do list. How I came to my diagnosis. I found out that I had celiac disease or just like extremely allergic to gluten about 2 years ago, and that is when I did a gut and hormone test. I also found out I had mold illness, and I also had gone off hormonal birth control. So I did many things, and I'm not even gonna share with you unless you're curious. The very first doctor was at my school. I remember doing finals and I was like, I think it was like winter. No, it was Thanksgiving. My hands were hurting. So I went to the doctor's right away on campus and she just told me because the weather was changing and I had a lot of back problems when I did gymnastics growing up. So sometimes the weather would make my back hurt. So I was like, okay, whatever. But then finals came around in December and I was bawling my eyes out in the library because I couldn't move my hands. They hurt so bad. So then I went to the doctor's at home. He ran a bunch of tests and everything came back normal in quotes. Then another 6 months go by. It hurts just as bad again. And so then I reach out to another doctor. They pretty much are like, well, you need to go see your primary doctor again. And every time you go to the doctors, it's at least $50. So I was like, I don't need to go see another primary doctor where they're just going to tell me that there's nothing wrong with me or that they're going to send me another referral. Like I could just skip that part, just send me to the specialist. They obviously wouldn't do that. So it just took me months and months to try to finally get to a doctor that would try and help me. This past month, I got a second opinion. So if you have Kaiser, if you already saw a specialist and you didn't like how they treated you or their diagnosis or anything, pretty much, you can call and ask for a second opinion. If you have to see a primary care doctor, they don't charge for over the phone visits. So I did that first. Then I got my second opinion. He ran a ton of more tests. And the way that I got him to actually run the test, because he didn't originally want to run them, was I told him the test that I want to run. And then I told him, like, if these come back normal, I can then go in a different direction of what's wrong with me. But I can't cross this off of what's possibly wrong with me until you run it. Because I've gone to Kaiser since I was a child, they have graphs of every single test I was ever ran for. I looked at the graphs and saw a decline in a few of my iron and vitamin D and thyroid and all this. I think the few times they were not normal, but they never obviously said anything. And currently they're in the normal range, but the last number of either being too high or too low. And to me, being a holistic health coach, I know that being the last number of a normal range at a conventional doctor means it's not normal. It's not optimal, at least for my age and for how healthy I am, because Their ranges are for people who go to the doctors because they don't feel good, not the healthy population. So I took every single test that he ran. Then I've been seeing also a health coach specifically for autoimmune diseases the past almost the whole year, for a really long time. She ran another hormone Dutch test and I got those results back this week. Connecting the hormone test with the regular conventional doctor's test, I have concluded that I have early signs of Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. I did some more digging because that's what's causing the symptoms. If you go to a normal doctor, they're just going to give you thyroid medication, which I'm not for. What are the root causes for hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's? I'm like the early stage. So it's like I can still fix it at this point. That's what I was really upset with the doctors, because they were telling me, hey, maybe in like 15 years you'll finally like test positive for this disease. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm having all the symptoms for this disease, but technically my blood tests aren't bad enough and you're not going to help me until then, that makes no sense, because I'm suffering now. My quality of life is impacted. So let's figure out how it doesn't get worse and we can make it better. So I was doing some research about the root causes of Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. Nutrient deficiencies, stress, adrenal fatigue. I'm pretty sure it was just 3. It was nutrient deficiencies, adrenal fatigue. I'm pretty sure there was one more, but I'm just blanking at the moment. So then I looked up, well, what's the root cause of the nutrient deficiencies and the stress or the adrenal fatigue? Everything makes so much sense. So first, birth control. I was on hormonal birth control for a few years, okay? That depletes your nutrients. 2, celiac disease. My health coach even mentioned this. I have a lot of nutrient deficiencies of vitamin D, iron, my white blood cells. Obviously, I'm not eating gluten, but it's mainly when I go over to other people's houses, cross-contamination, when it's really not in my control, except just totally not eating at other people's houses and at restaurants, which is kind of impossible because I'm a people pleaser. Celiac disease, birth control, mold exposure, which if you have kept up with that podcast, I had mold exposure from college. I'm pretty sure I've detoxed as much as I could from it. Basically, I've just figured out my body's really sensitive, and I'm not very resilient. Like, my body's not resilient. And then the next one, I think, was just stress, working yourself too much. I've been very intentional with my Oura Ring, just keeping track of how my body is feeling. Okay, so now going into like how to make myself feel better. I need to just relax more and not overbook myself. Like, my body is sensitive. I just gotta be in tune and not push myself. Like, I physically hurt. Okay, this is a really stupid example. People probably think I'm like over exaggerating. My parking spot for my apartment is pretty far. It's like it's at least a 5-minute walk, like a whole block away. And I was carrying 3 grocery bags, full grocery bags. I need to do it in one trip or it's going to be a 20-minute walk. So I carry all 3 bags. I was in physical pain going to bed. Like, my whole body hurt from carrying those 3 bags. Like, that's how weak my body is. Not like physically, like working out wise, but I think resilience wise. And then the nutrient deficiency one, I just got to be better about the gluten, and I got to supplement better and just eat the foods I'm deficient in. So I'm deficient in B6 and selenium, vitamin D and iron. I already knew that. And then vitamin A, I think, or whatever comes from seaweed. I think it's A. Okay, those. And then I just got to detox a lot more. So doing castor oil packs, making sure I'm taking my L-glutamine. I have a GI detox supplement I take if I'm not feeling good. If I got gluten, I'm going to drink or something. So like staying away obviously from things that burden your toxic load. So that's why I live a non-toxic lifestyle. That's why I avoid alcohol as much as possible. And I use like all clean beauty and skincare stuff. I feel so much better after finding this out, because now I know what I can research to figure out how to feel better and how to help my joint pain and my fatigue. Not try every single trend in TikTok. Whatever is trending at the moment, I can just not do it, because I know that's not going to help me, because I know exactly what's wrong with me and how to fix it, which is really nice, because for the past few years, I have been doing literally everything possible to feel better, and it just felt like nothing was working. I feel so much hope now to help other people now that not that I feel better yet, but I know that I'm going to feel better eventually and soon. I don't do seasons in the podcast, but a new era of me, a new season in the podcast. I'm trying to think of other updates I have for you guys. I'm still at the same job. I'm going to San Diego this weekend to go to San Diego Acne Clinic to fix my skin. This is kind of like a crazy coincidence, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to fix or like spend money on fixing my skin until I figure out what's wrong with my body, because this was impacting me every day. It just so happens like the day before my appointment, I figure out what's wrong with myself. I scheduled an appointment because they were booked and I needed to go on a Saturday because it's all the way in San Diego. It's pretty expensive, but I'm hoping I only have to do it once. I don't have like hormonal acne, but I don't know what's wrong with my skin. So I'm going to try to figure out answers, and it's tomorrow. So it just kind of worked out really perfectly. Oh, also why I couldn't post episodes for so long was my computer was not working, so I spent a ton of money to get a hard drive, and that is how I now am going to edit on Final Cut Pro for YouTube and for the podcast. I don't think there's anything else really new with me. I guess there probably is. I'm just blinking because it's been so long. I've been going to San Diego a lot, and I'm going tomorrow. I'm really excited. I love San Diego. I think for at least content next year, I want to get back into the podcast, obviously, and I want to focus more on Instagram. I am terrified of Instagram. Instagram scares me. It feels a very corporate, very picture perfect, curated, and I'm a very at least in my eyes, I'm messy and spur of the moment type of person. I feel like I try to be aesthetic and it just looks like I'm not, and I am a Walmart version of being aesthetic. That's just me, myself. I have seen no progress in TikTok, and I have been posting on TikTok for years. No progress numbers wise or community wise. And I care about the community more, but I'm just not finding it. So I think I want to try on Instagram. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a better approach. You know what I wish I could do? I wish you could combine Instagrams. I wish I could take my podcast Instagram and my personal one and combine them, but that doesn't exist. Why does it not exist to combine accounts? I'm not sure. I want to email Instagram. Not sure if they would actually help me. They probably don't care about someone with 1,000 followers, but I've just seen like really good growth from my friends, and I'm like, okay, maybe Reels is where it's at. Maybe you'll see more of that next year. I just for some reason have this hope in TikTok, and it's just never happened yet. And I think I'm gonna post a lot more health and wellness content, obviously because I'm a health coach, but I feel like people don't care about me yet. Like I just want to post like my everyday, but I guess I just post like what phase I'm in. I obviously want to make my website. I haven't been into reading that much. I do want to get back into that next year too. I want to get back into being a hermit, which I'm pretty much a hermit from February and January. The past few months, mental health wise, has been really, really hard. I've just had a lot more anxiety than usual. I'm back in therapy, which I think you guys already knew. I think just living with somebody else gives me a lot of anxiety. My roommate's great. It's not my home. I don't know if that makes sense. I didn't feel like this in college. So I think it's just because I came from living alone to living with somebody else. Not her problem at all. All my problem. I really want to make cookies and ice cream, but it kept me up last night because it's coffee ice cream. Well, other than doing something creative, posting on the podcast more, building my website, possibly traveling, possibly getting engaged, possibly moving in with my boyfriend, I feel like that's a lot of things next year already, but I think that's what's in store for me for 2025 is being creative, sticking to my hobbies and my goals that I've always had, and just grinding is what I'm looking forward to. Fitness wise, I feel like I've got it down. I pretty much solely do Pilates. I actually need to do weightlifting once a week, so my health coach says, for my hormones. Even though I personally don't want to, I think it'd be good for me. I get in enough steps. I think my health is going to be so much better in 2025. Also would love to continue my education, but I think I need to just get started on the health coaching, and then after a year, then go back to school and do something else. That's a little bit about me. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have anything specific you want in this new year, what you guys want me to talk about, who you want on the podcast, what content you want to see, like I think this is the time. I'm feeling inspired. I'm actually in my luteal phase, so I'm a little bit tired. I can't believe I'm recording an episode right now. It feels like insane that I haven't done this in months. I've just been needing to do this for literally 7 months. So actually, how many months? Okay, I'm over exaggerating. 5 months. I'm thinking there's like 14 months in the year. I've been needing to do this for a while. I'm so proud of myself. I actually did it. Now I just have to edit it and post it. So I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Follow me on everything so you can keep up since I don't always post regularly. I'm going to get back into it. Podcast on Instagram is My Perspective Pod. Also, all my links and discounts will always be posted in the show notes. TikTok is Shelbright. YouTube is Shelby Wright. Oh, this is really fun. I have a Substack, which is basically a blog. So I do the episode recaps on there. And then I also post all my links. I obviously have like Threads and Pinterest, Amazon storefront. All of that is in the show notes. Love you. Oh, I should do a Q&A episode soon. Okay. Love you guys so much. Thanks for sticking with me, even though I took a huge break. And I'll talk to you guys next time.